Welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Podcast. I'm your host, Shauna Nyrose. And today we are talking about an area of healthcare that you may not think is an area of healthcare. That is financial health. Money is a huge component of our lives. It is a major cause of stress. And in that regard, it is a major cause of sickness. So, what can we be doing to optimize our financial literacy and our relationship with money? Today, I have Rod Gibbings joining me on the podcast to talk about all things wealth management. Because as we know on this podcast, health is wealth. And today, we're learning that wealth is health. You're going to want to listen up. So in the context of this podcast, we talk a lot about how health is wealth. It's true. Without health, nothing else matters. But here's a twist. It turns out that wealth itself is health. If there's one thing we've learned on this podcast, it's that stress can make us sick. And the research overwhelmingly shows that money is the number one source of stress for Canadians. Numerous studies show financial stress is also the number one cause of divorce, surpassing even infidelity. Not surprisingly, over 35% of couples say money is a major source of conflict in their relationship. Financial stress has been directly linked to anxiety, depression, high blood pressure, and the list goes on. So in this episode of the Wealthy Podcast, I'm so happy to introduce you to my friend and financial advisor, Rod Gibbings. Rod is a senior financial consultant at IG Wealth Management and a longtime advocate for integrated, values-driven wealth planning. And I know this firsthand because I've worked with Rod for several years now. Rod brings decades of experience helping individuals and families build financial confidence, not just for retirement, but for life. I can say he has transformed my family's attitude and relationship with money. Rod also brings something more personal, the loss of a dear friend and colleague, and a recent health experience that's reshaped how he thinks about balance, purpose, and the real meaning of what it means to be wealthy. So let's get into it. Welcome, Rod.
Wow. Thank you, Shauna. That was very kind. Thank you.
Well, as you know, I have a lot of time for you, Rod. I am not overstating when I say that you truly have had a massive, massive impact on my mindset and our family's perspective on life and how money is such an important part of our overall health, and so often overlooked. However, before we get really, really into it, I kind of want to start with where we start with all of these podcasts. And I know that I don't want to make an assumption about your industry, but I think that there's this perception that people that work in finance or banking or whatever are sort of one way. But you definitely have a perspective that's very much sort of heart and purpose driven. And you're very helpful.
Thank you.
Like you come at this from a place of really wanting to help people. So I want to know, like, where did that come from? Like, where did the translation of, I want to help people optimize their finances to, I really want to help people live better lives?
Well, thank you again for recognizing that. I appreciate that. I don't, those are the kind of things I don't get to hear, to be fair. Right?
Yeah.
But so it was, I am a natural puzzle solver. That's what I like to do, and our industry was not built that way, to be fair. And I still think our industry is quite broken this way. I think when people when they hear the word financial advisor or planner or executive or, consultant or wealth managers, I don't think anybody has a clue what the differences are or if there are any differences.
Exactly.
Like, honestly, I think everybody's done a horrible job. And my experience is that, and how I was taught, it was get people investing and they'll be fine. But that's not the truth. The truth is money doesn't give you happiness. Money can give you all kinds of things, but it doesn't give you necessarily health and happiness, or, as you say, not just wealth, but health. Mm-hmm. So I shifted about 15 years ago to what I would call just doing it my way that felt right.
Mm-hmm.
And you really eloquently hit that nail on the head on that. So thank you.
Yeah, I think that, talking about money, it shouldn't be, but it still is such a taboo, like we were, even when we were thinking about the title of this podcast, wealthy came up, and there was like concern, is it risky to be associating this podcast, which is very much about overall integrated health, with a term like wealth, where the, general understanding is it's about money, and we don't talk about that, right? And we're in the business of philanthropy. Like, we are in the business of money.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it feels harder to talk about than like sex or health or grief or any of these other big things. Like, where do you think this stigma comes from?
Yeah, it's pure education, Shauna, right? I mean, it's, our kids don't learn it in school. I certainly didn't learn it in school. I don't know if your parents passed down any of their knowledge that they learned, if they had any help along the way. Mm-hmm. So who knew what they knew? Yeah. And maybe they passed down what they knew.
That's
which
right.
Maybe was, I don't know, right? Maybe. And this is the problem. This should not be left to parents sitting at the dinner table. It should be augmented by parents sitting at the dinner table helping their kids. But this is an education that should start very, very early, because there is such a link. And I'm so glad we're doing this, because it is something I'm really passionate about, is the connection between wealth and health. And I can tell you, we put our money where our mouth is on this. Mm-hmm. We actually have a direct connection with Cleveland Clinic for our clients to go get an executive health check, right, if they choose, at a very discounted rate, because we promote this. Mm-hmm. We understand the link. Mm-hmm. So if parents don't know it, how are their kids going to know it? I mean, I have to teach my kids how to read a credit card statement. Mm-hmm. They don't even know what it means, right? And, this would be at age 20. Mm-hmm. That shouldn't happen.
Yeah. And, we grew up with these messages like, and I'm sure they've been passed down through the ages, like money doesn't grow on trees. Like, whose parents didn't say that to them? Or we don't talk about finances at the dinner table, or it's not polite to ask somebody about money or what they make, or, these kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And so like, how do you think, and you have direct experience with this, how do these early belief systems shape our adult relationship with money?
So you started off this podcast talking about all the things that happen when you don't talk about money or think about it, and then the stress that's associated with it. Mm-hmm. And stress is the silent killer. And people don't sleep, they don't eat well, they don't
exercise.
Instead of going for a walk for 20 minutes and clearing your head, which, by the way, I don't know about you, but growing up, if I was ever maybe not in a good mood around my parents, let's say around age 13, when I wanted to jump and race everything, right? I don't know how many times my parents would say, hey, you know what? Go for a walk and cool down. You know why? Because I got the endorphins going. It cleared your head, didn't it? So in today's world, people don't. They jump on their phone, they'll grab some Doritos, and they'll sit down and turn on the TV. Mm-hmm. The reality is, to get rid of stress, you have to move. Mm-hmm. That's just the reality. Mm-hmm. So if you have clarity of thought and you have the ability to move, that is actually going to be the answer. And it's as simple as that, because your mind will work.
Totally. So you mentioned like being on the phone, and social media has really, I think, been beneficial in a lot of ways, but it is also sort of amplified. And I will admit, I totally fall into this trap of keeping up with the Joneses culture, right? Like, everything seems to look so good and so perfect. And we know it's produced, but at the same time, it's still, there's an emotional, and we're going to get into this later, just when we talk about decision making when it comes to finances, but like the emotional component to financial decisions and your relationship with money cannot be overstated. So what impact do you think this is having? Like this, this picture of perfection, perfect lives, money, boats, things, traveling. Like, oh my God, I'm guilty of it too. I put all my vacations on social media, right? What do you think this is, the impact that you think this is having on like what we believe about financial worth and self-worth and identity and all of that, because all of that's packed into this conversation.
Oh yeah, that's a big, that's probably the entire podcast. Actually,
Yeah,
we could just talk about
totally.
that the whole way.
It is.
I mean, first of all, you got to remember it's all marketing, right? So, marketing in some way, even posting your vacations, it's not marketing, but it kind of is.
Oh
right?
yeah.
In some way. But
it's like marketing yourself though, but that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
it's like, look at how amazing my life is.
So let's look at it from a big picture, is that first of all, we live in a country that allows us to choose, right? We can do whatever the hell we want. We can go, we can travel, we can buy things, we have the freedom. The question is, are we doing it properly? I think that's really what you're alluding to. And it's the keeping up, like you say, with the Joneses. By the way, this isn't new. Like I think it was Ford actually that first realized that if you bought a vehicle from them and they had your postal code, everybody around you all of a sudden
became a target.
All of a sudden, there was a little card in your mailbox. Hey, you should buy a Ford. And then all of a sudden they see a brand new Ford going up and down the street. That's how they sold them, right? And I don't think it's changed at all.
Yeah.
So, when you're talking about social marketing and social engineering that way, for sure it is. Let's look at this. Look at this. Let's have people spend money. And I'm a huge advocate on living life. We have one. Right. And probably one of the greatest frustrations that I have, and again, why I'm so glad to be here, is where I help people work and save their whole life to build the future that they want. And how often have you heard this? They stop working, and within 1 or 2 years, one of them gets sick, and everything they thought was going to be true has changed. I've seen it too much. And so I am a big advocate of this. But I'm a big advocate of life. So the question, do it measured. Understand. Should I be doing this? And if I am doing this, what am I giving up on the other side?
The opportunity cost.
Those are the questions that aren't answered.
Yeah. And I think that's, when we first came to you, this was one of the things we'll sort of get into, like, how this plays out in relationships. Because, wow, you think you know someone. And
let's go there.
Yeah, totally. But, you mentioned that, like, we sort of come to this with our own ideas of what we should and shouldn't be doing, right? And I think that for me anyway, just maybe because of the way that I grew up, I was always a little resistant to talking about money, because then it meant I had to make decisions like that I didn't want to make. I wanted to live fancy free. I'm the liver. If there's like a spectrum, right? You have a toggle. On one side, it's like live your life and have all the fun and travel and buy the fancy cars and all the things, right? Work hard and like spend hard, right? On the toggle. And then on the other side of the toggle is save as much as you can and invest as much as you can. Like my toggle switch is like on the left. It's like live the life. And my husband's toggle switch, as you know, is like on the right, right? So like, why do you think that it is that people are so resistant to talking about these things?
Well, I think first of all, people naturally avoid conflict, right?
Yeah.
So you don't walk into a room knowing that there's going to be an uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
You just don't. So if you're married, I don't know how your life has been, but marriage has ups and downs. Anybody that says it doesn't, I would argue that they just haven't been paying attention.
Totally.
So but inherently you want to have the discussion, but if it's going to cause any pain, you probably don't get to it as easily as you can. You need a conduit, right? And I don't always want to be the conduit, but I am.
Yeah.
Because if I don't understand, Shauna, what it is that motivates you, what your relationship is with money, and I don't understand what your husband's are, how am I ever going to possibly guide you for the best outcome for the future where you both win? How?
Well, and that's the thing. My goals, if it was just you and me sitting down, would probably be different than Darcy's goals. And I guess the thing is many of us move through life without having that conversation and knowing what your goals are. No, are you the live your life, buy the Ferrari kind of person, or are you the save it all and feel very safe and confident?
So,
right?
So let's just keep talking about like, you. I love it. Yeah.
I told my husband, I was like, I'm going to share, because this has been such a revealing experience for us we've been married for 23 years. And since we started working with you, we've just become so much more aligned and proactive.
That's beautiful.
So, this, like, setting the stage, money is such a huge important part of our lives. 72% of Canadians feel like they're stressed about it. Some of them all the time. We know financial stress makes people sick. 2.5 times more likely to suffer from depression and 3.4 times more likely to experience anxiety. And I don't even need to quote these stats because we all know this. Like, not one person listening to this podcast can say that they haven't experienced the anxiety attached to money. So do you think this has increased over the years? Like, it feels more complicated.
Wow, you are great at asking great questions. So here's just the facts. The facts are, and we track this, is that over the last 40 years, the amount of people that are living sort of just above poverty line or struggling day to day has not improved or gotten worse in 40 years.
Really?
So yeah, and nor has anything, the group of people that you would call successful and living financially free, that percentage has not grown by 0.25% in 40 years.
Wow.
All of this information's available. All of the help is available. There's people all around willing to help along the way. Mm. Not one bit has it changed.
Interesting.
Yeah. So dig into that with some psychology. I don't know why. Mm-hmm. I really don't. But that's the truth. So when you talk about has it changed, has it not? It hasn't changed one bit. Those stats are the stats.
Interesting.
Yeah. And certainly we'd like it to be better, wouldn't you? I mean, I think everybody would like that to be better.
Yeah. I
would probably argue that it may have been exacerbated by things like social media. So mm-hmm. people overspending. Everybody goes through that in their life. I've done that, right? And certainly at times in my life, there was times where I was worried about money, raising 4 young kids and starting new careers. No question. But that is part of the life struggle, mm-hmm. right? And that's where you make your decisions.
Right.
But when I think about people today, their access to credit is out of sight. Right. Right. You can
That's the big difference.
That is the difference. I think that is probably what's kept the percentages the same.
Right.
Yeah. People get buried.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly would agree with that. And before we started recording, you said something that I thought was really kind of like fundamental.
Uh-oh.
People think, I don't know, that you have to have money to have a financial advisor. And is that true?
Well, you need to, there's a few things you need, one.
Okay. Like a job. Okay. Yeah. Like I know you need to have a job or like an income,
yeah.
right. So to speak.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I think of my son, Jack, right. And we'll get into sort of the different strategies mm-hmm. for when you're younger, mm-hmm. but he doesn't have a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He's actually, he owes more than he makes at this point in life. Yeah. He owes us a lot.
Yeah.
But
way to go, Jack.
I know, but we plugged him in to mm-hmm. a fellow in your office just because of our experience with you. And you were sort of saying before we started recording that it's actually more responsible to access help with this stuff early on, right? And don't make the assumption that you only need a financial planner or a wealth manager or whatever when you're wealthy and you have a lot of extra income. That is not the truth, correct?
Yeah, it's an old adage, but the numbers are very simple. If somebody saved, pick a number, right? $100 a month.
Yeah.
From age 20 to age 30 and never saved another penny. But then another person started at age 30, saving $100 a month, but until 65. Mm-hmm, so mm-hmm. one saved for 10 years and never did again. The other saved for 35 years. Mm-hmm. At age 65, who do you think had more money?
I don't know. Maybe the same?
No, first one.
Yeah. Yeah. Time is a currency.
Yeah. So, and that's why dealing with somebody like Jack's like, I don't know. I just want to, I play football. I want to have fun. I go to university. I'm living a great life. Mm-hmm. Right. But Jack, if we put away $100 a month, this is the difference it makes.
Totally.
Oh shit. I'll do that.
Exactly.
Right. How easy is that? Right.
Yeah. And you talk about opportunity cost instead of he lives in Toronto, $100 is a night out, you know? So
lunch out.
Yeah. Well, maybe for us. He better not be spending $100 on lunch.
No. I have another son going to U of T here this fall. So I know what you mean.
Yeah. But just taking that $100 a month and investing it mm-hmm. over time, a 10-year period, he will net out more from that $100 than the joy of a single night out.
So people listening are going, well, shoot, I'm already 35. It's too late. No, it's too late if you're 40 or 45 and you haven't started.
For that
or 50
kind of strategy.
Or 55. Yeah. There's no reason to wait.
Yeah.
There is none. Right.
So any age. You just adapt the strategy based on the age.
Totally.
Yeah. And the time. Because the time is the currency.
Yeah. I have to say though, you know, I think the way our industry is built too is that, you know, we live in a world of what we call fee compression, right? So, you know, because of technology too, but, you know, costs of working with us continue to go down for you.
Yes.
Makes sense. But that means also our incomes go down. Don't feel bad for us, right? But
okay.
No, but that means that but what has changed fundamentally, and this is what's broken in the industry, is that most people that are established in my business cannot afford to deal with clients like a Jack. Because it is a significant
They don't make
loss.
Enough. Yeah.
No. And that's just the fact. That's the truth. So anywhere they go, they don't get access to quality people. So so it would be like, you know, going to a specialist, but they'll only see you if you have this bad of a problem.
Yeah, if you're super sick.
If it's a little problem, we got a person that's a weekend.
Yourself.
You can try it out, right? And that's what happens in our industry.
Yeah.
So I mean, I know fundamentally for us that we've made a conscious decision many years ago that we will deal with families. Period. Right? We will deal with families, right? From grandma down to grandkids. Because, by the way, the grandparents care as much about what's happening with the grandkids as they do about their own kids. And they want them all to do well. So why would we not help?
Exactly.
We can help educate.
Yeah.
It's a bit of time.
Well, and also I think too, because we started working with you, it wouldn't really have occurred to us how important it was to have those conversations with our kids. Now, you know, I've got a 17-year-old and a 20-year-old, like have those conversations now about just put the $100 a month away. Like
so easy.
Right. So you don't even necessarily need to have a person, although I'm grateful that you guys deal with families. If people don't have that level of access, even just as families and as parents, having that conversation, having somebody yourself and having that conversation with the kids at the dinner table that we are now talking about money at, right?
Interesting. But in a different way.
In a different way.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. So, so we came to you basically several years ago in our 40s, sort of. We'd worked with other financial planners over the years, but it had been very passive. And I think this is such a common story, is that people along the way, they're like, oh, I need to have somebody and, you know, my RRSPs and my RESPs, and they set it up and they set it and forget it. And they don't really have a pulse on what's going on. And they haven't had that conversation about what are your goals for retirement. It blew my mind when Darcy and I met with you and you're like, what are your goals? And I said, I want to live my life now. My husband was like, I want to you know, save everything I have. Right. And you're like, well, that's great. But like, those are two super different goals. And our strategy is really going to have to depend on those goals. So I would,
that's a simplified version, but yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Well, and what I'm getting at is like over half of Canadians nearing retirement say they fear outliving their savings. Okay. So that's not, you know, my die with nothing is not uncommon. So where do you begin when you're helping someone plan a financially secure and emotionally comfortable retirement? Like take us through that process.
Yeah. First and foremost, you have to know the people, right? I have to know their relationship with money. That was my question to you. I wanted to know, what was your relationship with money? And people are either scared of it, right? Or it's just a conduit through, right? And it's usually that extreme, right? Yeah. There is some in the middle, but it really is that extreme.
Yeah.
And by scared of it, meaning they're scared of not having it, right? And so they're scared that one day all of a sudden there's no money, or and that's their measurement.
Yeah.
And so, and again, it's not wrong, but if I understand what your relationship is with money, now we can actually have a deep discussion about your values, what is important to you. And can I give you an example?
Yes.
That I just met. So this is just earlier this week, and I was meeting with the daughter of a client, right? And so it took a while to sort of get the daughter in. Recently divorced, right? So it was just their daughter. And so I started talking to the daughter, and I said, your mom and dad talk about you all the time. It's such a nice to meet you. And they're like, oh, I love my parents. I'm so close to my mom and dad. And I said, oh, and they said, actually, my grandparents they're English. They just flew in. And I said, oh, are you close to them? And she said, it's unbelievable. We're such a tight family. And I said, so family's everything. She said, absolutely. And I said, do you have kids? Do you have 2 kids, similar age to yours? She said, we do everything together. It was the reason that I think the relationship actually divided last time.
Ah.
And I said, well, tell me a little bit about your upbringing. And they said, you know what? My parents did everything they could to make sure that we could live life. Always. Whatever it took, they dropped whatever it is. We know they sacrificed. And I said it probably started with your grandparents. They said, yeah. And they came all the way down. I said, do you do the same with your kids? They said, in every way. I said, I still have a son that plays hockey. It's his passion. He thinks he's going to the NHL, as all boys should, right? Or girls, rather play hockey, right? And I said, so how important is it to you then that you've been able to allow your son to play hockey? And I'm just talking about the son. And they said it's been everything because it's defined all of his friendships, et cetera. And I said, well, based upon what you're telling me, and family is everything, I said, then so is community. Mm-hmm. And she said, well, yes, it is. How this ended up, by just understanding her, is that we actually set up a charitable foundation for her, which we have the ability to do a small foundation. And because what she wants to do is she wants to support minor sports in perpetuity in our community.
Yeah.
That's what came out of that discussion.
Yeah.
So that became one of her top financial goals. It wasn't just give me money. It wasn't but you're right. There are fears that people have. Will I outlive my money? Right? Am I invested appropriately for my money? Yeah. Right? To make sure it lasts for my lifetime. What if I live longer? Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And worst one is if something happens to me and I die prematurely, will everybody be okay?
Right. And these are like super important questions.
They're that questions.
Totally.
Yeah.
So let's look at the demographic of people in their 40s and their 50s. Okay. So you're sort of like in your primary earning years. Mm-hmm. You've had the opportunity to maybe ladder up with your career. You've got a few more decades left possibly of working. What are the 3 most important things people in their 40s or 50s should be doing right now to prepare for retirement, even if they feel like maybe they're coming to the game a little late?
Well, first of all, I can tell you I've retired a lot of people successfully with a 10-year window. Yeah. With commitment, right? And so that's where it starts, right? Understanding that they want a plan. They actually want a commitment to having a plan work. And on average, people think they're in a worse position than they actually are. Yeah,
we totally did.
Yeah, it's normal.
If you ask my husband, we were literally like one step away from broke all the time. Yeah. And he believes that.
Yeah. Well,
thank you
maybe it's different now.
Thank you for helping him unravel that a little bit. Yeah, but
yeah. Well, so it's so important to understand where you are and where you're going. And it's no different than if your car is not working, you go get it fixed. Well, think about it as your money too in your financial life. If you're not sure where it's at, or you're sure it's not sure it's working, get it fixed. Yeah. Ask. By the way, it's free to talk to people like us. Mm-hmm. It costs nothing. Mm-hmm. Right? And hopefully you're dealing with a proper planner that is actually talking about goals and building a plan for you rather than just offering you investments or insurance. Right. Because that's just product. Right? It has to actually be a fundamental plan built around you. But anybody that is in their 40s and 50s, think of the average 40-year-old. We're all the same. You're working your butt off. Sorry.
It's all good.
Yeah, I got the thumbs up. Yeah. So you're working like crazy. You probably have a fair bit of debt because you're paying off houses. Maybe you're trying to save for kids, or they're really expensive because they're in sports, which cost a fortune. Yeah. And now you're in your 50s. Maybe you've had to buy cars and pay for their education further.
2 kids in university.
Yeah. And maybe only one of you was even working. You might have been doing this on a single salary, right? Or let alone both of you working, or you're just trying to juggle everything. Yeah. You know what it's like, right? Yeah. Okay, shoot, I got to go to Costco. Oh, there's another $600.
Always.
Right? Mm-hmm. Constant, right? So how do you squeeze the time? to even think about what's next. That's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
You have to make it a priority. I don't know where that starts. I really don't. I don't know. I mean, for me, it's referrals, of course. But I don't know where somebody just sitting at home goes, hey, you know what? Together, we need to go, let's go get a plan.
Well, and I think that like that's why I was excited to have you on this podcast, because I'm hoping that people listening to this realize that it's actually like, I love what you said about fear, because it's such a huge thing. Like I'm the kind of person that, you know, before I was with Darcy, I didn't want to even look at money. Like I didn't want to look at my bank statement. I didn't want to look at my credit card statement. Like I just didn't even want to look at it, because that meant I would have to like
deal with it.
Yeah, right?
Accept it.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing is like there's so many other priorities that come at you, especially in your 40s and 50s, that like keep you tactical, like in the moment, that you may not necessarily prioritize your financial sort of like outlook in this planning. But the security and the safety and the relief, like as the former recovering, I don't like looking at any of this stuff, you know, now I'm like, oh, we're meeting with Rod. Like it makes me excited because I know that we have a very, very thoughtful plan. So, like I kind of want to bridge into this conversation about, you know, relationships and the different, you've mentioned like how we're raised affects the way we think about money.
Mm-hmm.
Darcy, you know, was raised in, you know, they had a situation of scarcity, bankruptcy,
right.
you know, that kind of thing. So when he comes to a conversation like this, he is extremely like, don't take my money. Let me put all my money in the sock drawer and in between the mattresses of my bed. Whereas I grew up and I didn't have, you know, we didn't have a lot of money either. But my mom was like, live the life, like get the jeans and the shoes and we'll worry about it later. Completely opposite end of the spectrum, right? How do you plan a retirement? How do you plan for a retirement that satisfies both people?
Wow. Is this a case study, Shauna?
Well, I don't mind sharing. Like, I think that our compromise has been extremely satisfying for both of us.
It does come down to, again, what we talked about. It comes down to your relationship with money and your goals, right? So first of all, do you want to retire? Do you? Not everybody wants to retire.
Yeah.
And if it does, what does it look like? Let's paint that picture. Yeah, let's paint the picture. What does it look like? How much freedom do you want, right? Is it important that you travel a lot? Is it important that you can buy a car? Is it important you can help family, help community? All of those questions really designate what does it come out with, because it's going to come out to a number. Then it's just math. Are we on track? And if we are on track, are we invested appropriately for not? If we're not on track, what do we need to do to save more? And what do we need to do to change the whole picture to enhance it? And the one thing that I do know is that when you, and I, you know, you're saying it, and I've seen it for so long, and it probably the reason why I love what I do, right, and keep doing what I do, is these outcomes, because now you have the freedom, but you don't understand the freedom. People think it's just like freedom of money. I can just spend. It's not. No.
It's peace of mind.
It's peace of mind. It's freedom of purpose. Actually, it's amazing. I see this. People's minds change. They stop worrying and thinking about this. All of a sudden, there was all of these other things in their life. It could be relationships. It could be community. It could be purpose for things. It could be, you know, and time. All of a sudden, it's wide open. And it was there right in front of them their whole life. And their life improves. It improves. And their health improves. Absolutely. That's the tie-in. Yeah.
And your relationship improves. And I think that one of the biggest experiences that Darcy and I have had, I don't know if our situation was extreme, but I do think we had very different approaches to money and mindsets around money. But the compromise that we've come to has allowed us to make decisions about money independently of each other, knowing that we're on the same page.
That's huge.
Trust, right? There's less of the, you know, full out battles over like, I want to take an expensive vacation in Mexico and I want to give Rod $5,000 more to invest, right? Like we now are able to navigate those conversations because we actually have a plan that we have agreed on together.
Yeah.
What do you suggest? Like, okay, so Darcy and I did not have these conversations when we first got together, and
Shocking.
we've got Jason and Arden here, and both of them are in relationships. And what advice are you giving to? Not together with other people, but Jason's just had a baby, just got married, and Arden is in a relationship as well. What kind of conversations should people be having, couples in relationships be having early on to set, like, so that you don't have to get to the place where Darcy and I got to where we were like, rah, all at war at times? How do you start that conversation?
Yeah. I have no idea. I really don't. I do know that you have to want the conversation.
Right.
You're right. If you want to have peace going forward, you want to have that conversation early. You want to talk about, hey, listen, this is my career. I think this is where I want to be. This is how long I think I want to work. What are you doing? What do you want to work? What do you see yourself doing? Those kind of conversations, right? And it starts with that. And they go, okay, well, how are we going to get there?
Yeah.
Then you go talk with somebody, because you're not going to do it yourself. By the way, you're not going to do it yourself.
And at what point, I'm just using Jason as a hypothetical, but like Jason and Liz get married and then they have a baby. What do you like? Do you merge bank accounts? Do people have individual bank accounts? Like, are you save? Like, what is sort of like a profile just in general for that phase?
Yeah. Again, it's all over the map. But successfully, what I have seen the most is when people are merged.
Right.
Because it's one goal. It opens discussions that have to be had rather than living totally separately. Now that works, but it's not what I have seen as the best outcomes.
Right.
The best outcomes are when they're together.
When people decide to.
Yes.
When you get into, I often reflect on this, it's not romantic, but when you enter into a marriage or a long-term partnership, it is a deal, it's a contract, and it's like a business, right? And bringing the finances together and just having a really, really clear picture of what that looks like is, I guess it's just easier overall to manage as a team.
Yeah.
I
mean, imagine a hockey team. You got an offense and a defense, but they don't talk.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to win a game.
Totally. Yeah, exactly. They might be successful in their own right, but they're not going to.
Totally.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's very, very interesting. Okay. This is a conversation Jason and I just had the other day about, do you buy a house or do you rent? Like right now, I know this wasn't on our list of things, but Darcy and I came to you actually with a very, very similar question on the other end about mortgages. We talk about opportunity costs in terms of finances. For young people right now, I think there's still this mindset that may have been inherited from past generations that you graduate university, you get a job, you start to think about buying your first home and getting into the real estate market. Darcy, if he was sitting here, would probably say something different, but I'm just wondering, is that always the best decision for a young person that doesn't have maybe a ton of liquid capital?
Yeah, I've had people that do both. Certainly, when I'm thinking about clients in Toronto and Vancouver, and a lot of times just simply the price was escalating faster than they could possibly save, and they weren't ever sure they're going to be staying there anyway, and so they have rented their whole lives, and they're fine.
Because you can take the money, and this is what Jason and I were talking about, is like, if you, let's say you save up $50,000 to buy your first home, right? And then you have a mortgage and you're paying on that mortgage. Alternatively, if you take the $50,000 instead of saving it into a chunk and you invest it in, say, an index fund, right? Where you can make on average, I don't know, what is it? 10%?
Whatever you
8%?
say.
I don't know. Right? That money might, in the long run, as a young person, make you more money than the value of the home might necessarily net out.
Okay. So,
Okay, we're getting into it.
Yeah. So that's an interesting question. So because, I'm going to ask you, right? What is the value of a home to you?
Yeah. For me, it is, it's a nice to have. But it doesn't, like, because I own it, it's not like part of my identity. It doesn't like give me any sort of like, oh yeah, I own a home.
But what does it give you?
It's a sense of security. Yeah. Safety, roots. I know I'm not going to get kicked out at any point or have to move. It's my decision.
Yeah. Stability.
Stability. Yeah.
Raising
exactly.
family.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those might
also
be
just feeling like you're following the playbook. That's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yeah. So Canada's very different than many other countries in the world because in Canada, Canadians see real estate as an asset base, as a investment for the most part. It's tax free, right? So they see it that way, and that's come down through all the generations. And again, most of the world sees a home as a place to live in. Mm-hmm. Right. And so it's a fundamental difference in the psychology of a home. So Canadians by nature very much talk about that. Yeah. You're not good enough unless you have a home. Mm-hmm. You need to get a home.
Oh, you're winning.
Totally. Yeah. Except you go through economic periods like we are today where, you hit a pandemic and the price of homes goes like this and real wages go about this fast. Mm-hmm. That gap is out of sight. That gap today is pretty historical. So, people rushing to buy homes when they're young, they can feel defeated. And I can talk about that with some of my kids. They've been saving and they literally said, I'm never going to buy a home. I can never catch up. Mm-hmm. So, so now parents on average are giving each child about $150,000 per mm-hmm. child mm-hmm. to go buy a home to help start as a down payment.
Right.
Right. Now that's not historical.
No.
That's current. That's because of the environment that we're in. So does something have to change? Well, yeah, either the homes have to, right? And then off. Wages catch up over time, right? Or I don't know what the answer will be. This is something that has happened in the past in Canada. It is possible that just fundamentally you might see a flattening of home prices. And over the next decade, you see wages come up to catch up mm-hmm. where it gets more in line. Right?
So in the short term or in the current economic reality that we're in right now, it may not be the best option for young people to get into the housing market when the opportunity cost of that is not investing in whatever it is,
there's all
where
kinds
you can
of
make a
programs.
higher return on that money that compounds over time.
Yeah, and that's why I would struggle right now with talking with people with homes being their rate of return.
Yeah.
Right? Buy a home, you're going to make lots of money. Well, it's an asset, so over a lot of time you'll make money for sure. But I would really talk to people about what's the reason for having a home. You described it mm-hmm. for you, right? Security, stability, right? Not worrying. Those are goal-based reasons mm-hmm. that you would look to buy a home, and that would motivate you to buy one. But if the answer is, I got to buy a home because I'm going to make money, I would argue that is not a goal-based decision.
Right.
Right? That is a short-term thinking. And so it is going to be different for everybody. But I do empathize with people that are trying to enter a housing market where we just have this massive gap.
Discrepancy.
And I don't know if, I bet you, Shauna, when your parents bought their house, they might have paid, I'm going to guess, they might have paid like 1 or 1.5 times their annual salary was the price of that house, mm-hmm. right? What is that times right now?
Oh my gosh. I don't even know. I'm bad at math, but the multiplier is much larger.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, that comes down to, interest rates, lending rules, ability to have these extended mortgages. They try to provide access, but it's what's created that gap.
Yeah. And I guess the message is too that, like, for young people and even for parents, I recognize that, the audience that's listening to this podcast may be sort of more in the demographic of like parents of young people that are sort of on the precipice of those kinds of decisions. The advice doesn't necessarily have to be, buy a home now, right? Yeah. Like, there are other options if you still want to optimize your income.
Yeah.
Right?
You know, how many jobs do you think people will have today? So Jason, right? So how do you plan on living Kelowna your whole life? Oh, come on over.
He's like, I don't get to talk on these things.
Do you plan on living in Kelowna your whole life? Yeah. And do you see yourself sort of in the same role your whole life as well? Or do you
currently,
Yeah.
like operationally,
Yeah.
In a similar field, but not in the same role.
Okay. So yeah, so similar. So I would say that that's a bit unusual. I would say most people are very much looking at, you know, probably a lot of change in their life and probably changing locations as well, right? And so, you know, those are kind of things that come into a decision. So
Yep.
for somebody like Jason, I'd say, well, Jason, is buying a home really, really important to you? And if so, why? Okay, well, here's how we can make it happen. These are the tools that are available, right? You know, there's all kinds of government programs that are allowing you to save and, you know, to save up great down payments for homes and, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, that would be the discussion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we even get to the conversations about,
Sorry, Jason.
Jason's very entrepreneurial, so I totally get where he's coming from. Like Jason's going to change the world for sure. No pressure. But like before we even get to the place where we're talking about investing and, you know, Jack gets all hyped because he's like, his favorite movie is The Wolf of Wall Street, and you know, right? Like, his dad's a realtor.
Why do you?
Okay, I don't know. I mean, it's a very compelling movie. It's very sexy, all the whatever. But like, do you know what I'm saying? But before we even get to The Wolf of Wall Street, like, what are some things that young people should be doing right out of the gate? You know, as soon as they start to make money.
Yeah.
What financially should they be doing?
So there's a rule of thumb that has never changed, right? So if you save 10% of your net income, 20 ideally, 20 gross, 10 of net, you save that per month, you start early.
So that's it. So Arden
That's
is
as
just
simple
going
as
to
it
be
gets.
right off the top, 10%.
Yep. And you will live fine on the rest, right? So 10% of net, right? Take home.
And just make a commitment and do that.
And do it.
Yeah.
Don't ask questions. Walk away. Don't just walk away.
Yeah.
Right. And you'll be fine. Well, assuming that you're invested appropriately, meaning for some growth.
Right.
You know,
and do
time,
you
but,
play Wolf of Wall Street? And I mean, I know the answer
I
to
watch
this.
it every day.
But like the kind of investing that you're talking about is, I mean, I guess you could probably have a higher risk tolerance when you're younger, but like we're not, you know, dabbling in these things and watching it and selling and buying and this and that, right? It's like set it and forget it kind of stuff, right?
No, we're doing all that behind the scenes.
You guys are
for
doing that. But
Yeah,
I think a lot of young people today think they can just do this by themselves. I want to learn how to be a day trader.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, if I had $1 for every time I heard my son or one of his friends be like, oh, I'm going to learn how to be a day trader. No shame, like, and no shade, but what's more realistic?
Yeah. So I'll tell you a story. This is last week. So I came, a fellow was referred to me, he and his wife, and he came to me, and this is his new wife. So here was his story. At 42, he was worth $4 million, all made on crypto. And crypto.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, he was a genius.
Up and down.
He was a genius. Yeah. These things all have their moments in short periods of time. What are you going to do over 35 years is the question, right? How do you know, right? So $4 million by age 42, owned his home, had new cars, new boats, living his life, doing everything he wanted, right? Then it went sideways. This is only in recent times, like really recent. Then it went sideways. So then it was loans. Significant loans, doubling down, tripling down, quadrupling down. Because if you only know one thing, it's what you stick to. And people, we call it anchoring. People anchor to it. No, I made money here, so therefore I'm never going to sell it until it gets back to where it was. It's anchoring. And fundamentally, that doesn't work. So anyway, the bottom line out of all of this was endless loans, underwater, bankrupt, divorced, alcoholism, and no relationship with kids, all because of the relationship with money and the ability to try to do it quick. That's a real story.
Right.
I could tell you probably 150 stories like that. So everybody can choose to do what they want. But all I know is that if I'm building a plan for you and Darcy, and I say, you guys are on track for this, the one thing that can't screw up is the investment side.
Right.
We have to rely on that. We have to know what calculated measurements that we're making in making those investments for you. I can't look at you and go, oh, we were so on track, but then that's not going to work.
Yeah.
I've seen too much of that when people have come to me as well
Right.
from other institutions.
Yeah, and so and we trust you with that part, Most recently, Darcy and I came in our last meeting with you. We sat down, and I think this is actually something that a lot of people that are our age are grappling with is, we still have a mortgage. It's not huge anymore. And we also, want to optimize our income at this stage of life for retirement. And so we came to you and said, Rod, Darcy says, I want to pay down this mortgage, so we're going to be putting lump sums on this mortgage. And I remember I said to you, is that the best thing that we can be doing with this lump sum, or are we smarter to be investing that at this particular stage, given kind of mortgage rates versus what we could potentially make in return? And you said, do you remember what you said?
No.
If you're looking at it from a purely financial perspective, investing would be the smarter thing to do. However, this is not just a question about dollars and cents. It's the emotional, and that you were so right, because Darcy has this attachment to not having debt. I don't have that, right? And so it was really helpful.
I do remember, yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. I remember saying, but yet the emotional side of this decision is knowing that you're debt free.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah. And how much is that worth?
That's right. And then we had a great discussion.
And we did. And we were able to it's so funny. You don't realize how much of this is therapy.
Yeah. About 80% for me. Yeah.
Yeah. But I think, and that's where, being able to be in an environment where you can talk about money very, very openly and not be judged and not be shamed, but all be working towards basically optimization, whatever that looks like, regardless of your age or stage, and your mindset that you're coming to the conversation with. But it's just so interesting how you could, if you're financially motivated, you would choose this door, right? Obviously, invest that lump sum of money. You're going to make a better return on it over time, over the long haul, than dumping it into your mortgage. However, the dumping it into your mortgage makes you feel better, makes you feel more secure, makes you feel more confident. There's a value to that, even though it's not dollars and cents.
Of course there is.
Yeah. It just was such a light bulb moment, I think, for both of us.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what I heard out of that was just, Rod, keep it simple.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I think that's what a lot of people are nervous about financial planning in general, is that they think it has to be complicated.
I think what is behind the door is very complicated. What we do behind the scenes is very complicated, but it doesn't have to be complicated for you, because you won't take action.
Right.
We need to understand you. So, I mean, we're very thorough, as you know. We're totally integrated in all parts of who you are and what. By that I mean, retirement planning, investment planning, insurance planning, estate planning, tax planning, business succession planning. All of that links. And that's why we talk and do all of that. So when we have a discussion, we're not just looking at it from what's the best outcome monetarily today. It's actually, how does that link with everything else? And that's how we come up with the decisions together. So, I mean, I really wanted to thank you too, Shauna, because what I'm hearing from you too is that, and it's what I really hope that we do as a practice, is that we work as a partner with you. This isn't a transactional relationship. It's a partnership where we're all working on the same outcomes, which are yours. Right?
So I think that's a really good transition, Rod. I can't believe how fast this conversation is going. It's riveting to me anyway. You are not the first financial planner that we've worked with. But you are definitely different. Your approach has been different. And I think this is where a lot of people are very confused.
Yes.
What should they be expecting
Yeah.
from their financial planner?
Isn't that so true?
Yes.
Yeah. I should almost ask you that.
Yeah.
Like, what should you expect?
Well, I think
knowing what you know.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Like, I have a lot of empathy for people that do your job, because I know that when we made the decision to transfer all of our stuff, holdings, whatever, to you, like it was kind of like all over the place, and it was a pain in the ass, right? It took a little bit.
It's a lot of work up front.
Your admin team is amazing. Like, there's a lot of poking and prodding to get all the forms and the things and the stuff, right? But I think, so that's on us. That's on, the client. We have a responsibility to like do that stuff.
That's right.
And sometimes we're not good. I always say to you, we're the worst clients ever, right? But I also think that we had an expectation of our financial planners in the past that they would be proactive, that they would know what is in our head and be, like you said, all the complexity is being done behind the scenes, and that I think we wanted them to show up for us and just be like, okay, based on your goals, here's the thing. This is what we talked about last time. This is what you can expect. Here's how things are tracking to that plan, right? That wasn't happening in the past, but that was our expectation. I think a lot of people expect that and aren't getting it as well. And I think that's the expectation, is that there's some proactive measures on account of people like you to be a bit of a pest and say, I know you don't want to look at this, but we agreed that we were going to sit down and look at this twice a year. That's it.
Yeah.
Twice a year.
Yeah. Yeah. And more if needed, for sure. Right.
And more if needed.
Yeah.
But like, for at the very base minimum, I feel like that keeps Darcy and I looking at it.
Yeah.
Because it would be very easy to just be like, okay, and you know me, I still kind of don't really want to look at it. But
yeah, you do.
I do now.
I know you do.
I do now.
Yeah.
I do now.
Yeah.
But I want to ask you, like, is that fair? Is it fair?
I think that is exactly what should happen, and I agree with you. I do not believe it happens enough. Right. I can't speak for obviously the industry. I only know by what I see, right, and what I hear. I do think the industry is moving a bit better. But bottom line is that if you're meeting with somebody and it's a partnership, not a transactional relationship, by the way, to me is somebody's they're just managing your investments. That's it. There is no tax planning. There is no insurance planning. There's none of that integration, right? So that might be a transactional relationship. Proactivity there might be, hey, you should sell this stock, buy that one. But I do not believe that is the answer to giving you the freedom, right? If you get a 0.5% better return one year over the next, your life isn't altering.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel better. You might go, hey, guess what? I made half, but nothing has changed. What fundamentally changes is that you can go travel the way you want to travel, right? Because everything else is okay.
Right.
Because you know it. That's a fundamental shift. So if you're going to deal with somebody like us, make sure they have a process that they can show you and tell you, and then it's 100% complete and comprehensive in all ways, right? And you've seen what we do.
Mm-hmm.
I also, as you know, put it in writing. So I had this epiphany a while ago, right? And so I got a little thing about tipping. I'm getting a little bit, I don't know about you, but I'm getting a little.
I've heard your story on this one.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll tell these guys.
It's okay.
So I'm like, this is how my brain works. I was heading to Revelstoke. And I needed to buy some windshield washer fluid. So I stopped in at the petrol station and I went in, I walked in, grabbed the windshield wiper fluid, took it up to the counter, went to pay for it, and a tip option came up.
You didn't like that?
And I went, but I'm feeling guilty, right? And I'm going, hang on, what am I tipping for? I brought it here. I didn't put it in the car. And then, so literally that started getting me thinking, and I felt guilty. I tipped. I still tipped like 10% or something because I felt guilty.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
But again, what am I tipping for? And so, but tipping is all about value received at the end of the day, isn't it? Right. Mm-hmm. And so I will give you
to ensure proper service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So imagine this. You go to a restaurant and at the very front, it says, here's what you should expect from us. You should expect to have a table that is set clean. It's fine. You're in a quiet area. You can have private conversations. You should feel special being here. You will be approached by a server at this time. At this time, you will never run out of water. You will always have drinks offered. You can expect your food in this timeline. This is the quality of this food that you should expect. You will be offered this, this, and this. And in exchange for that, if we have met these conditions, we'd appreciate it if you would give us some form of recognition via tip. How many restaurants do that?
None.
No.
But I think they have it behind the scenes, but they don't communicate it.
Right. So when it ends up happening, and this, I know this is going to sound weird. I'm going to tie this together. But if you and I went to the same restaurant and we sat beside each other in different booths and we ordered the exact same food, the exact same server, the exact same meal, everything happened identically, and you get that tip option, it is possible we would tip differently based on our expectation of service. So
totally.
Yeah, right. And depending on what happens, some people will tip well, some won't. Again, expectation. I believe in our industry, we do not set that expectation, which is what you're talking about. And so as you know, I put it in writing. Here is exactly what you should expect from us, which talks about proactivity. You should expect full transparency, a full living plan, managing all of these different avenues of your life. This is a minimum amount of meetings that we will have. This is the relationship that we will have. It's long-term. It's a partner. All of that is in writing. And then you know. And if we're not living up to it, guess what? Not that you can tip us, but does not give you the right to go, hang on.
Yeah, you didn't
give us
fulfill
that.
This.
You're not meeting your obligations. So otherwise, how do people know? That's the confusion. That is the confusion.
Totally. It is the confusion. And it's interesting because you asked, Julie, your person, asked us to invite a few people out for dinner to meet you, which is how we met you, actually. I love it because it's very personal and it's it doesn't feel like there's any sort of like, it's just something for nothing kind of thing, right? And I did invite a few people. And what I heard like literally from everybody is like, I don't even know what to expect from my financial advisor, but I know I'm not getting it.
Isn't that so true?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And it's very interesting. So I'm glad that you are.
Tell my tip story. Just tell the tip
story.
I
think it's such a great story.
That's how simple, honest to goodness. That's how simple my brain works.
Yeah. It's such an important part of. No, but I think it's such a good analogy because I think, financial management is such an important part of our overall health and well-being, circling back to the beginning of this conversation. And why shouldn't we expect that level of agreement? Let's call it, okay.
I keep kissing this thing.
So do I, because I get excited. I'm like, I'm going to eat the mic. So I kind of want to transition a little bit, Rod, because we're getting towards the end of our time together. This is the question, the $1 million question.
All right.
You've already answered it, really. But in your experience working in this field for decades now.
Yeah, thank you.
Does having money make us happy?
No.
What makes us happy?
No. Health, first of all. Freedom. Right? Freedom. I use that word all the time, and I don't want to overuse it, but I will. Some of the most miserable people I know are some of the wealthiest because they have no idea why. They have no idea what their relationship with money is other than I just want as much as possible. But yet they have the worst relationships. They have no involvement in their community. They have families and kids that don't talk to them, fractured marriages all over the place.
No
you know
sense
the
of
stories.
Purpose, yeah.
Right? And are they healthy? No. Not at all. So what does wealth bring you? It brings you freedom. And your definition of wealth is going to be different than everybody else's. But once you are aware that you're on track, this is the confidence. And again, I have seen people's lives turned around in every way. I have seen relationships that were totally fractured become the most loving, cherishing, comforting relationships ever. Makes me very proud. Not that I'm a marriage counselor, but it makes me very proud to see because I know that I've taken away the unknowns and the fears. And once you get rid of fear, and once you understand what your goals are, and you know that you have the freedom to live them, or you're on track, My goodness,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not kidding. This is when I see all of a sudden somebody is now volunteering and all of a sudden leading some kind of community charge that they didn't even know was possible.
Mm-hmm.
And guess what? They have a massive impact.
Mm-hmm. And that's what makes us happy.
That is what makes us happy. We have to have purpose-filled lives.
Mm-hmm.
We have to. That is the beauty of living in a country like Canada. We wake up every day. We wake up every day. Shauna, you know what you're doing this weekend. You know what you're doing next weekend. You know what you're doing this fall. We have the affordability mentally to be thinking ahead.
Mm-hmm.
That's a purpose. Well, what other purposes are there? Well, it sounds silly, but and again, I live it and see it. When you have a well-constructed, truly integrated plan like you have, you get the freedom.
Mm-hmm.
You've talked about it today.
Mm-hmm.
And I really thank you for telling me that. Because again, it's not the stuff I hear. I do see it, right? But it really makes a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that you have hit the nail on the head. It's not the money that makes us happy. It's the security and the freedom that when there's no questions, when there's no hiding, when it's all out on the table, right? There's just this sense of peace and freedom that comes with that, even if it's not a lot. It's just having that peace of mind to know that there's a plan in place and that no matter what happens, you're going to be okay.
Totally. You should do this. This is good. You're good at this.
What, the podcasting
Yeah, you're
thing?
good at
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thanks. So oh, you're buttering me up now. You've built a career helping others build financial resilience, which is truly what it is. But recently you've had your own health journey, and can you share a little bit about that and how I've really noticed, not that you've like changed, but you're different.
No.
How has that changed things for you?
Can you define that?
I don't know. I mean, I maybe also like one of the other questions that I have, and it kind of interlocks
I think it does.
with this
I know
one.
You're gonna,
Yeah.
I think I know where you're going. Yeah.
You lost your business partner
Yeah.
a couple of years ago,
Yeah.
who was a dear friend of
Yeah.
yours, and his passing was sudden and unexpected.
Totally. Instant.
Yeah. And so experiences like that, and then having your own health experience often sort of like really shakes us out,
Yeah.
right? Like shakes us down to
Yeah.
the core and shakes something loose and
Mhm.
kind of forces this reckoning,
Yeah.
right? We all sort of think we have time, and we all think that, the Buddha says that the problem is we think we have time, right? and I think that when things like that happen, it actually like changes your chemistry in a little bit. And that's what I noticed with you,
Yeah.
especially after your partner passed.
Yeah.
What?
I would say that a level, right? You're making sure something's, level.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that it's really easy in life to get unleveled.
Yeah.
And we all go through that. And I got hit hard by that with those two things. The first one, which was Joseph passing away on the team, was instantaneous. The question, I'm going to tell you the exact conversation, the last conversation that I had with him was, I said, Joseph, I'm so happy. I've never seen you so happy, right? And he goes, what do you mean? I said, you're taking the time, because he was a work an 80-hour a week kind of guy all the time. And I was always telling him not to, right? Slow down. I told him, you can do more in a half an hour than most people can do in 3. Right. Mm-hmm. So he goes, well, do you think I could go bike riding with my wife in the morning if it's beautiful? I go, please, like, don't ask me permission. Go at it. Well, I was thinking of getting some paddle boards because they live on Cal Lake. And, can we go paddle? I go paddle boarding. Right. I don't, absolutely. Right. It's your life. Choose to live it. And so, he said, oh, thank you. And he said, he said, I am healthier and happier than I've ever been. And then he looked at me and he said, what about you?
Interesting.
It's my last conversation.
Wow.
He said, what? I go, what are you talking about? He goes, Rod, I don't know if you're working too much. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not preaching or practicing what you preach. It's changed. And I went, oh, really? Right? And so last conversation.
Wow.
The next day he had passed away.
Wow.
Yeah. And so how's that for
Yeah.
an awareness,
Yeah.
right? And a reckoning, right? And so it did change me.
Mhm.
And I did certainly, I changed how we would run our practice. I carry an intense sense of responsibility with what I do. And so with that, like many people, sometimes you don't say no enough. And that is really what had crept into my life. Right. And so, and again, without knowing it, because it's not like one day, it's like, quarter of an inch a day,
Of course. Yeah.
So I learned to say no. I learned that I was going to now take more time for myself. I got very, very healthy. I got really, really fit. And which made me mentally sharper. Of course, I could work much better. I could do everything better, relationship, everything better. Right. And then, then I had my own health event, which really has fundamentally also shifted a lot of what the conversation with Joseph was, but to a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so you want me to talk about it, don't you?
You don't, I mean, yeah, I know what you mean. Cause I know to a certain degree, you're still navigating that, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a journey. And, one thing about me is, I don't, what I'm being told all the time is, Rod, I think it's just kind of the way it's going to be.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
Not
no,
satisfied
I don't
with
think
that.
so. Right.
Yeah.
Because I want to be back to the old way I was. But I would say that in life, it's easy to get some hard edges. Right. So if you're a table, right, you get some hard corners.
Right.
And for me, those hard corners were maybe working too much, right? Not saying no enough, not taking enough time for myself to do the things that are really gives me value, right? And I would say that those two events rounded out those corners for me, which ultimately is exactly what I want for everybody else.
Yeah. And it is translating into your, I think it's just the relationality of your business. It is different. And I think, Joseph's passing left a big hole in your business for a little bit, and you haven't tried to fill it in the same way.
No, you can't.
You've created something.
We have a new team.
Yeah.
But you can't replace.
No.
I wouldn't have even used a word.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that very personal perspective. I think a lot of people can relate. I know when I got diagnosed with breast cancer at 44, it totally shook something loose in me, and I would never wish a cancer diagnosis on anybody, but to a certain degree it was a bit of a gift for me, because it allowed me, it's like you start to like see things just in a completely different perspective. Which has been incredibly healthy for me. Because at age 44, I was in it, and I didn't realize how stressed I was. I didn't realize, how much I was numbing myself, or not thinking about the things that I should be thinking about, like lack of purpose. What is happiness? What is freedom? All those questions. All of a sudden, I was like, oh man, I thought I had time to figure that shit out. And I guess the point is that, we all think like the Buddha, the problem is we think we have time. Well, don't wait, I think, is the message. Don't wait to do this work.
Yeah. And people think that retirement is an end.
Yeah. It's
not an end at all. It's a alteration. It's a change of path, whatever you choose it to be. And one of the fundamental things that shifted for me, and thank you for saying like it shifted for you, it probably shifted your work and how you think about work and what you want to have in work, right? And
100%.
The purpose that you want to drive from it. I relate, because that's exactly what happened to me. And I realized that, when Joseph passed away, I was just going to retire. I was just going to be, that to me felt like quitting. I didn't feel like I was done. But what it did do is it opened up a lot of doors for me that were in here I just didn't allow to open. But all of a sudden they're opening. And some of them is making time to do this. I am doing a lot of podcasts, and I am doing a lot of speaking, and I now have actually a website being built, and because I'm becoming a main stage speaker of all things. but it's because there's mentorship available. There's just perspectives. There's just lessons that, in whatever reason, share that people resonate with. But that is turning out to actually be a tie-in to what I'm doing today, because I'm helping clients achieve their goals. But I've got all these new things in my life that I'm helping others in different ways. And it's like a new purpose.
Yeah.
So I used to
and
think
that's what makes you happy.
Yeah. And I used to think about retirement. Okay, I'm out. I'll be good. I'm going to get.
You got your big RV and down to Arizona.
But it actually I actually don't know if I'm going to probably change what I'm doing now, because I am sliding away to doing more mentorship with our team. But I don't know if I'll ever stop this until I'm tired of it. Yeah. Right.
So, and you're not.
No, and it changed everything.
Yeah. I can relate. So, Rod, as we sort of wrap up our conversation, which has been really lovely for me, we talk about wealth, and that we often say health is wealth. Today we've sort of flipped it inside out and said wealth is health. But when I talk about wealth or wealthy, it is this integrated definition of what health is. And that includes everything from our physical health, mental health, emotional, spiritual, community, financial, relationship, all those things that make up the wholeness of what health is.
Totally.
So what areas of your life do you feel that you are wealthy or abundant?
Oh, we got another hour? No. I don't want to overuse the word, but the freedom word, right? I have freedom to really enhance and establish new relationships in my life where I didn't think I had time before. I have time to do things that give me energy, rejuvenate me, help me take care of my health, because without health, my brain doesn't work, right? And particularly with what I have going on, if I don't take care of it, my brain just doesn't work properly. Yeah. So I have to make sure I measure it and take care. That means eating right, working out, exercising, being outside. All of those things are so important.
And you have to make time for that.
Totally. Yeah. And you have to give yourself the freedom of time. You have to know that you have the freedom of time. So a lot of people are do-it-themselvers. I'm just going to do it, right? Well, that doesn't give you time, does it? It just takes away time. So that was another big thing for me, adding more and more people to the team, because it gave me the freedom that I needed and wanted, right? This is the balance in life. It really is. And I really wish, this about me. I am passionate about that. I am passionate about helping people find that, right? And, there's, all kinds of terminology, financially fit, all of those things. But you're right. The correlation is so strong. Yeah. We just play a part of it. But I would argue we play a very large part of it psychologically, a very large part. And that's what people don't understand. So when your friends say, I don't even know what to expect, how disappointing. How disappointing is that, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I actually don't think that we even realized until we started working with you the degree to which this partnership would give us freedom. Like we knew you were referred to us from a very trusted individual in our lives. So we knew that you had the credibility and the designations and all the things to do the things that you said you were going to do. But I totally, it's not that we underestimated. We just didn't even know that it was possible to feel this sense of freedom and security at the same time. It sounds weird, but
it's so cool.
It is very cool. And I really hope that this conversation opens the door for people that are listening that may not have empowered themselves or taken agency in their own financial health to do that. Like however that is possible. There's lots of really, really great people just like you out there that want to do this work. And it is, I'm not overstaging, it is life-changing.
Yeah, your example is very common. You maybe have one person in the partnership that wants to see somebody, but the other person has no desire or fear or understanding. Lack of it, scary, right? That's normal.
I
So
was worried that you were
yeah.
going to tell me that we would have to save every single penny that we made. And like, I literally was very worried about that. And that would have made my husband super happy, and it would have made me super unhappy. And I think he thought that you were going to say the same thing, and then you didn't. But it was okay.
We just painted the picture.
Yeah.
Right? We painted the picture. You guys actually made the conclusions.
Mm-hmm.
That's I think the beauty of how we operate.
Mm-hmm.
We help you make the conclusion. But if you don't make it yourself, it's not going to stick.
Yeah.
I can tell you, if you see it, it's a different outcome.
And that's the other thing too, is that you do see it. We come see you. We see the whole. It is an entire picture right there on your big screen, and we can see the whole thing. And there's a number in the bottom right-hand corner. That's what everybody looks for, right? Yeah. But there is one, and it gives us an extremely satisfying and comfortable feeling that we're on the right track.
Yeah, and I don't want to keep interfering, but I think also what people don't realize is everybody's talking about what I call offense, right? Investment, savings, et cetera, et cetera. That's a part of it. It's equally, just like hockey, it is equally important to have the defense.
Yeah.
And I think that part is often overlooked too. Do you know how many people that I come up with who have significant wealth, and they have a financial advisor over there, and they have an insurance person over there, and a lawyer over there, and an accountant over here, and maybe do you think they talk? No. They say, "Oh no, I got it. I got this." Do they talk? Well, then how do you know? Mm-hmm. How do you know that this is working? Mm-hmm. Right? I think that's fundamentally the difference, is that we do bring that together.
Yeah.
We make sure it's integrated. Yeah.
It's amazing. Well, Rod, I knew we would not run out of things to talk about, and that is certainly true. I'm really grateful to have been able to put you in the hot seat, and you've done a great job. Thank you for sharing your wisdom and your expertise and a little bit of your heart today. We really, really appreciate it. This is an important topic that doesn't get talked about enough. Especially in the context of health. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Shauna. This has been wonderful. Appreciate it.